The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hi, my name is Joy Barrett. I'm the Executive Director with the Granite State Children's Alliance. We operate 5 child advocacy centers here in New Hampshire. And over the years, I've had the privilege of working with some really incredible organizations here in New Hampshire, and it just gives me a great privilege to be able to have this opportunity to talk to executive directors throughout the state about the work that they do. And I want to challenge all of you out there to really think of the word nonprofit in a different way when you start to learn about the organizations in our great state. We have great profits. We are empowering people. We're protecting children. We're preserving our environment. And so I want you to tune in to New Hampshire Cares and really learn a little bit about our nonprofit, our great state of New Hampshire, and the work that we do for people in our community. Hi, my name is Joy Barrett, and thank you for joining us today on New Hampshire Cares. I have the pleasure of 2 wonderful women. We were just talking about ice cream before we tuned in. From the Nashua Prevention Coalition, I have Janet Valuk, who is the project director there, and Monica Gallant, who is the project coordinator. So thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
And I think I'm inspired now by the whole concept that I'm going to bring ice cream next time. And I know the flavors to bring if I have you back, so I'm really excited about that. But thanks so much, and thanks for the invitation to join me here, or accepting the invitation when we were back in that meeting. I know it was in the beginning of the summer that we met and sat next to one another, and we kind of traded business cards. So it's really a pleasure to have you here today. So maybe tell us a little bit, and the viewers a little bit about the coalition. I'm real interested to hear what you got going on there.
So the Prevention Coalition has been in existence since 2005. And basically our mission is to increase awareness, education, and community involvement in substance abuse prevention and reduction among our local youth. In 2013, we received a drug-free community grant, which helped us to move forward. And we collaborate with the entire community in working towards our mission statement and our goal to raise healthy children. Absolutely.
Well, so important. And of course, what's really in the headlines now, of course, with the heroin epidemic and all of that, I certainly hope that it brings attention to those that have been really on the ground doing this work in years prior, as far as prevention is concerned. I think sometimes we get a little sighted by the shiny object and don't realize that prevention is really where we want to continue to invest in our money, in addition to interventions and certainly treatments. That's without saying, but prevention is just so important.
Right.
And is the coalition primarily Nashua-centric or Greater Nashua? Or what are the communities?
Our grant covers just the city of Nashua. There are surrounding communities that have drug-free community grants, and all of our surrounding communities have other coalitions that they work with. So we all fall under Beyond Influence, which is the organization that is our umbrella for all of us.
And that's a national organization for you, or is it a statewide?
Well, Beyond Influence is regional.
Okay.
So they're the regional planning group for drug prevention.
Okay.
And there's 6 coalitions that belong to that, of Nashua being the largest, and then the surrounding communities.
Okay. So so are there 6 coalitions within the state of New Hampshire, or just in this region
Just
here?
in this region.
Wow, 6 of them. Holy cow.
Yeah. There's a lot. The state, I don't even know how many there are. There's a lot.
They're spread throughout the state, yeah.
But as far as the 6 in the region, you're all kind of somewhat, you kind of play together, work together around this issue.
But our grant focuses specifically just on Nashua.
Just on Nashua. Now, what are some of the activities? I mean, are you from, you know, there are some organizations that I'll consider, they're at that 30,000-foot view of, you know, recognizing a problem and kind of putting together a strategy, and then they give other organizations kind of tools to kind of help mobilize that? Or do you actually have feet in the ground, or maybe it's a little of both? So maybe tell us a little bit about what that looks like.
So it is a little of both. We have a lot of community partners. This past year has been a huge growth year for us. We have developed a youth collaborative where we are working with the Nashua School District as well as all of the youth serving agencies such as Nashua PAL, the YMCA, Girls Inc., and the Boys and Girls Club. And that's a big project of ours so with this youth collaborative, what we're focusing on is prevention messaging developed by the youth themselves. So we're bringing kids together. They are writing a script and creating a PSA or public service announcement. Our first subject has been prescription drug misuse and raising awareness on the importance of adults locking up their medications, reducing accessibility. So that's what they're working on right now.
Sure.
And we are also working on youth leadership, trainings and trainings that involve how the media influences youth or targets youth. So that is our next step for the youth youth collaborative.
Well,
and we're really excited. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
We're very excited to have all of the partnering agencies and focusing specifically on prevention messaging.
Oh, yeah. Well, I applaud the fact that you do that. I was the executive director for Big Brothers Big Sisters, which is another great youth-serving organization. Actually, they're Big Brothers Big Sisters of New Hampshire now, but obviously have a strong presence in Nashua. And all the organizations that you identified that work with youth, we even play together. And so bringing, and in many respects, those kids overlap those services. A child that we may match with a mentor at Big Brothers Big Sisters is going to the club or to PAL or to the Y, and so there's a lot of crossover there. But bringing the kids together, that's a really creative way to get the messaging, because sometimes as adults, it sounds like they're being preached to if there's messaging, even though, we try to make it appeal to them, but the fact that you'd have kids actually creating those messages and being leaders in their circles to be the voice of prevention from drugs and alcohol. So that's really key.
Yeah, and it's the positive peer approach. The kids develop it. It's empowering for them, and they believe each other.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's I like that positive peer approach.
Right.
Now, do you put together focus groups with these kids? Like, tell me a little bit. Get into even a little bit of the weeds with, maybe some of the specific projects, and even if there's a story that you'd like to pick out of there that you'd like to share, that would be terrific.
Well, we started the Youth Collaborative with a listening session, and it was held back on May 20th, and we had about 30 kids from all of those agencies and came together, and they were asked some questions like, what are the positive things in the community? What are some of the negative things that you see in the community? What are your concerns? So they had 10 questions that they were asked, and they circulated in small groups, and they answered the questions just pretty free-flowing information, and it gave us a kind of a baseline of where to start, things that they would be interested in receiving future trainings in, and at that point we asked who would be interested in prevention messaging, and they all pretty much said they would be, and we also asked for a core group of kids or youth that would be interested in forming a planning committee. So we ended up with 7 kids on the planning committee, and those are the ones that we worked with over the summer and created a PSA that will be released shortly. involving, prescription medication. But those will be the kids that will reach out and continue to recruit more kids to the collaborative.
That's really terrific.
Yeah.
You must have loved seeing that unfold.
Very
when the PSA comes
exciting.
out, let me know,
Oh,
and
yeah.
why don't we have you back and we'll play it. We'll do a little bit. Maybe bring a couple of kids that were on the project.
Sure.
Wouldn't
They
that be?
would love
Yeah.
That would be a really
Because it was all local. All of the actors are local,
yeah.
and it was great. We have another PSA that we'll leave with you as well that was created a couple of years ago. We partnered with the Nashua School District TV production studio, and we were actually informed a week or so ago that it won an award.
Hey!
So we're now the owners of an award.
You get a nice little gold trophy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it was a group of youth, high school youth that came up with the theme, and we told them what we wanted. The major focus, which again was to lock up medications, and so this travels with us when we present to different groups, especially elderly, in regards to making sure their medications are locked up, because we have data that shows that the primary way that most young people are getting the prescription drugs that they're abusing is by stealing them from medicine cabinets. So keeping that locked up, especially
secure.
if you're older and you have, desirable meds in your medicine cabinet, you want to keep them secure so that the kids can gain access to them.
Wow. Did the kids share with you and during those focus groups? Because I would imagine there's a tendency for them to want to be very transparent, but then not get in trouble at the very same time, but yet they understand the greater good. But they're kids, right?
Right.
So were you amazed at how educated they were about not only maybe the problem because they see it with their friends or, they have that happening in their own home? And, was there any particular thing that you heard during those focus groups that even was a surprise to you? Or are you so close to the issue that?
Yeah, I would say that we're pretty close to the issue. We've attended, several trainings, across the country that we hear stories from all over the United States. So we have heard a lot of the stories, but it was good that they shared
Yeah.
the information that they did, because it was pretty, not sure the right word, but it was graphic.
Right.
And,
Sure.
They
It was
were
real stuff.
forthright. It was
Yeah.
real stuff.
Real stuff.
And so we know that our kids are facing real issues. And, I think everybody that becomes aware of it cares and wants to do something, which is great for us because we just keep getting more and more partners and people involved.
Well, it's
in
all
that.
about education, right?
Right.
You find
Education,
yourself, you
awareness.
learn what is out there and what's happening or what's a trend or what seems to be popular. And so you address it in a way, and of course you're doing that now with the kids, even addressing it and being a part of the solution. But it's really about education. Like you said, there are probably some people that may be watching this, and when they look at the PSA, don't realize, how important it is. When the other one comes out about locking up your prescription medication, how important it is, and what an easy, simple solution.
Yes.
Very simple.
Very small. My favorite phrase is, how to eat an elephant one bite at a time. So if this problem is the elephant, one thing that someone can do is, locking up their prescription medication. But we're going to take a quick break, and of course our viewers are going to tune in and watch the PSA that you brought. So thank you so much. Come back after the break. And again, I am with Janet and Monica from the Nashua Prevention Coalition. Hi, and welcome back to New Hampshire Cares. Of course, I have Janet Valuch, who is the director of the Nashua Prevention Coalition, and I have Monica Gallant, who is the coordinator there, and we're having a really great conversation, getting to learn a little bit about the work that they do. And through the break, we started to get really entailed with some of the other really important pieces to the organization that I wanted really the viewers to get to know. And so one of them was around funding, nonprofit organizations, and I'm assuming this is a nonprofit
Yes,
organization.
It is.
Yeah. Nonprofit organizations, have a wide range of ways in which they're funded. So I'd love you to share a little bit about how the funding came to be for this particular coalition, and then, what you have to do to really continue the good work that you're doing in our Nashua community.
So our original funding originated from the White House Drug-Free Community Grant. It's a very competitive application process. For 2 years, the coalition submitted applications and we were denied, and finally in the third year, we were approved. And that is our sole source of funding right now. Each year we need to submit a continuation application, which has been accepted, thankfully, up to this date, and then after 5 years, we have to totally reapply. So it's a potential of $125,000 a year for a total of 10 years. We have partnered with the Silver Knights to have a little bit of fundraising, and that money is going towards some of our youth initiative that Monica talked about earlier. The grant, is very specific on what it will cover and what it won't cover. So, moving forward, because at the end of 10 years, the money is completely gone, we've already started working on sustainability. So sustaining what we are now and the programs that we have working right now is one of our main goals, and that hopefully will occur as we get the word out and more people in the community become aware of what we're doing and possibly looking into more types of grants to apply for.
Yeah, sustainability, it's funny because being involved in a nonprofit myself, there's always that discussion of sustainability because you all have a funding source that allows you to do the great work that you do, and it's got a limited time. And for you, it's the 10 years. So you were awarded for the first 5, and,
Yes.
and during those 5 years, you have to do a continuance to
Yep.
say, we're still here, we're still doing what we're doing, what we said we do, and then you have to reapply competitively and cross your fingers again,
Yeah.
and then hope you're funded again. But at the end of that year, unless there's a new administration that announces some other federal source that you can apply to, it's, okay, Nashua, there's value in this program, and, that becomes then, the challenge. And, fundraising is always fun sometimes at the end when it's over, but it ends up being, you end up having to have the capacity not only to then do the work that you're doing, but then to actually have the capacity to build fundraisers.
Yeah.
So the Silver Knights you had mentioned kind of probably take up some of the expenses that the grant won't allow
Exactly,
you.
that won't
Right.
cover, right.
It doesn't cover food.
Yeah.
And for the
Right.
youth, that's the
So,
number one way to get them there is to offer food.
Right,
So,
right.
And we haven't made a whole lot of money in our fundraising efforts thus far, but every little bit helps.
Definitely,
Right,
definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, there's a, even looking at other grant sources that are in New Hampshire, and, certainly the Charitable Foundation is doing a lot around this topic, certainly.
Yeah.
Tim, I'm
Tim
sure you
Rourke,
know
yeah.
Tim Rourke
We work very
well.
closely with the Charitable Foundation.
Yeah, so that one.
And United Way is our fiscal agent, so
Oh, perfect.
we work with them as well. But
And that's a good question. Where's your office?
our office is mostly in our homes.
Okay.
But we do have a desk at the United Way, and we go in and use their copy machine and stuff. And the important part about this grant is that it has to be 100% matched.
In kind,
So we
right.
have to be $125,000 of in-kind services that are provided. So we get a lot of that through the United Way. And then, all of the other members of our coalition that we work with.
So you're a $250,000 organization.
Right.
Pretty much.
125 comes from the federal government to support this initiative. And then, there's in-kind and maybe some fundraising dollars that help, contribute that. And, what's really interesting is in the, and I always tell people, we actually have a lot of profits. I don't like that they call us nonprofits. I think we actually have a great deal of profits. It's just different. But in the for-profit world, no one would ever think of having their budgets developed that way, with needing in-kind support,
Right.
so, I applaud you for being so creative with how you can stitch it together. And a huge shout out for the United Way here in Nashua, huh? They do a lot for organizations that do good work. They really, really do, and the fact that they're hosting you there really speaks to that.
Huge.
So now, it's always interesting to me where people have come from in their professional careers to land where they are in these chairs, here today. So I'll start with you, Monica. You want to tell us a little bit about your history?
Sure. My professional career actually started out in insurance many years ago, and then I was fortunate enough to be a stay-at-home mom. So I became, as my kids got older, I became involved in the schools.
And that's where you learned a lot of skills.
And that's where I learned a lot of skills. I got really involved in parent education, and that quickly became a passion of mine. And as parent education evolved, I got into actually working in the school. So I work in a school district as well, and I am in the special education field. So, which I love. So, and prevention and special ed are my two passions, and I'm fortunate to be able to do both.
Yeah.
So
you must feel it's a privilege that
it
you can lend yourself to this, initiative. You must love seeing, how it unfolds.
Definitely.
But yeah, definitely being a stay-at-home mom is definitely where you learn. There's a resume builder right there, right?
Yes.
Task manager, organize, right, all those things. So how about you, Janet?
So my background is in physical education and health education. I'm a teacher, former teacher. Worked in Connecticut, wrote curriculum as a health coordinator for the school district back in the 60s and 70s when, drugs were just coming on in the scene. And landed in Nashua about almost 30 years ago now. Stayed at home with my younger kids, and then once they went to school, I kind of came up the ranks through the Nashua School District, starting as a paraprofessional, and then I taught health education at Elm Street, and then finished my career at Nashua High School South as a health education teacher. So I retired in 2012, subbed for a year, and I had been a part of prevention work for almost the entire time I've been in Nashua in one way or another on different coalitions, actually starting with an anti-tobacco coalition. So once this grant became available, they looked at me and said, would you like to take the position full-time? And I very cordially said, no, thank you.
Because you were in retirement,
I was
right?
retired, yeah. And people now say to me, are you sure you're retired? Because you seem to be working more. But this is like my dream job. It's my passion. It has been my passion for my entire life, educating, working with kids, and trying to work on having that healthy child grow up in a healthy community. And so to become the director of the coalition and having Monica as my cohort, partner in crime, so to speak, we share the position. We're each part-time. I'm more part-time than she is, but it's just been a great opportunity for me, and I feel very blessed that I can do what I love to do and continue to do it on a community level.
That's great. Well, I can, you light up when you talk about it. It really is really important.
Yeah.
Well, you're making a difference. You're changing that trajectory of,
Well, that's
that
what we
needle.
hope.
Yeah, that's what we hope. It's possible.
Yes.
I
It
say it about
is.
child
It is.
abuse. Hey, let's get our arms
And-
around the fact that we can prevent these things.
And we recently got results back from what's called the Youth Risk Behavior Survey at the middle school level. And although some of the numbers were a little bit discouraging and shocking in the usage at that age level of substances, the positive note on it is that, parents that talk to their kids are less likely to use, and kids who hang out with other kids who feel it's wrong to use are less likely to use. So we are really moving forward and trying to get the message, meeting with PTOs, meeting with parent groups to encourage them to continue. Don't stop at elementary when most PTO organizations dwindle. but to continue through middle school and high school, because when you talk to your kids and you have good experiences with them, statistics show that your kid is less likely to get involved with these substances, and that's what we want to do. We want to educate not only the kids, but the community as well.
So I think you've probably answered the question that I always ask, which is if you had a money tree. I think you'd want to clone yourselves to be out there more, because it kind of gets to that, that final point that we wanted to make about being able to be, represent this prevention model and be that voice and give a presentation to a lot of different groups, especially as it relates to prescription medication. So, how can people get in touch with you? I'm sure there's probably a website that will be put, on the bottom of the screen, but if you can let us know.
So our website is very similar to your name. You are New Hampshire Cares, we are Nashua Cares. Our website is www.nashuacares.org. And,
that's easy to remember.
Yeah, our Facebook page is the Nashua Prevention Coalition. We meet once a month, the first Wednesday of the month, at the United Way on Broad Street from 3 to 4:30. And we are always looking for partners, whether you're a parent or a professional. We have, the different sectors that we need on our coalition, anywhere from, youth-serving organizations, faith-based, parents, the schools, the police, medical.
Wow.
All of the main groups of organizations in the community, but anybody is welcome to attend.
So anyone out there listening that says, I want to jump on board with the Nashua Prevention Coalition can get in touch with you. You have an office that you're there occasionally at the United Way, or they can go online and find you, or call, even reach out to me at New Hampshire Cares, and I'm happy to forward on your information. And you have regular meetings so that they can really get involved. I mean, it takes a village.
Absolutely.
And the work is really important. And I think I often say no better place to invest than in kids.
Absolutely.
In all the spectrums.
Yep. Right.
But yours is so important for their future health. I mean, if you carry that out, look at what you're preventing down the pike. I always try to say, wouldn't it be nice if we could put some of those other human service organizations out of business, because kids are growing up healthy into healthy, contributing adults. Wouldn't that be nice?
And we have Red Ribbon Week coming up at the end of October.
Okay.
And we want to paint the town red.
Okay.
So schools,
So
businesses.
end of October?
Anybody that wants to come on board and help us promote living a drug-free life, we'd love to have them help us.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. Paint the town, paint the city of Nashua red the last week of October.
Yep.
Yes.
So join us for that. And thank you so much for tuning into New Hampshire Cares.
Thank you.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.